For the first time, it wasn't XXL's fault, mostly. For the past few years I've been chuckling at the magazine's selection of highlighting new-gen hip-hop artists, but those whose focus isn't actually predominantly lyricism, living their careers in the fast lane, cresting with a flash and dissolving into irrelevancy within 8 months. So while many years have done a fantastic job of not being very good, I could only do so much to blame it on rappers who didn't promise very much longevity or idiosyncrasy in the first place, let alone grasping at straws and deciding to let singers on board. I'm convinced at this point the magazine is in cahoots with online meme pages, promising to offer them tons of fuel for new content. I don't know anyone who has heard a YK Osiris song and thought, he'd be great spitting some bars. Scratch that, I don't know anyone who has heard a YK Osiris song. But you know what? This was probably the most promising lineup in a while, all with unique styles and voices of their own, and the gates open for genuinely great lyricism, with or without a beat. I could probably attribute each one to somebody I knew in high school. This was their chance to show us, but mostly Dante, with an a cappella freestyle and an on-beat cypher, that they're people we should keep our eyes on. And at this point the unspoken rule is well established. Don't actually improvise it, unless you want to make a complete and utter fool of yourself, even if the one exception to this was the cypher with Uzi, Kodak and 21, which miraculously happens to be the best one of all time. But I guess that's what happens when you leave it to the experts. For anyone who keeps up with this in the first place, it should be clear by now that the freestyle is for showing off your wit, and the cypher is for actually showing off how much you can not sound like Lil Mosey. Truthfully, this year was underwhelming, and it's not just because 2 didn't show up for the freestyles and 1 didn't show up at all. Gunna's too big for XXL, it seems, which was a shame because I was hoping for a good penguin impression. The elephant in the room, or should I say polar bear, was Mosey, who kicked off the cyphers with the energy of a punctured bottle rocket. Mosey sounded out of breath, which is unusual because all he was doing was sitting down, but it seems the bar was set too high for himself given what happened in the cypher. Yes, he was perhaps one of the only ones that actually freestyled, but giving accolades for that is like handing out a participation award. Even Gunna did better. The embarrassment of calling the beat trash and then getting shown up by 3 others who handled it like it was nothing on their schedule, also even swiping that same gag straight from the Kodak Black cypher 2 years ago, which has layers when it comes to being an absolutely terrible idea. YBN Cordae is a backpacker's dream, the lawful good, awkward but consciously clever. He'd be spitting on a Nujabes beat if he was still alive. The 16-year-old's answer to J. Cole, from the same hunger for real and respectful bars, the absence of any true personality aside from rechanneling the 90s classics that inspire his get-up, and also that he punches below his potential in his actual music. The aubergine effect of me conceptually liking the fact that he's there, but the actual content's a little bit bland. That said, Cordae is still talented, his cypher is where he shines, and if there was anyone that was going to, it would have been him. And he did. And if there was anybody else who was going to sound good on a beat, it was obviously DaBaby. His signature flow fills every beat with a syllable, and it all snaps satisfyingly into place like Lego upon Lego. Somehow when you take that beat away though, for the freestyle, DaBaby just croaks out his funk flex freestyle with no rhythm or reason to hold it together, though in fairness he increasingly sounds like the mob boss in a crime drama, giving you the last words that you're going to hear before he drops you in a mall, pants down, nose bleeding. DaBaby's cypher lasted for about half the video and hammered in line after line, sounding alert and ready to pounce, which is impressive for somebody who always looks like he just woke up. It creates a nice dichotomy between those who sound like they're slightly fatigued and those who are boosting off straight caffeine. Rico Nasty has a flamethrower angst in all that she does, the raucous attitude of many a grunge singer. Even if she was reading the ingredients list of a pack of mee goreng noodles, she'd still make up for it with tremendous personality, splurging all rivals with a venom in her voice that makes me think she's gonna rip my body in two like a Mortal Kombat character. It becomes a saving grace, really, because for whatever reason she decided to spit a super fast verse, and not one that would have actually let her enunciate everything properly. It starts so good though. Those first 10 seconds are like gliding through wrapping paper with a pair of scissors, and then in the second half she slips into damn near gibberish, as if she wrote the script with a broken spacebar. Genuinely one of my favourite people on the cover, but it really sucks when the cypher highlights what your weaknesses are instead of your strengths. Rico flaunts this fierce, edgy, deranged personality better than most others who try to do so. Literally Comethazine's whole shtick, but better. And I think the difference is having some decent level of taste, because the entirety of Comethazine's freestyle I felt like I was watching an extended cut of the Five Nights at Freddy's Game Over screen. If he was on Arts and Raps, he'd eat the kids. That he spends the makeup of the cypher trying to be edgelord scary doesn't result in very much good at all, though I'm pretty sure he would make a good blueprint for a boss fight in the next No More Heroes game. And being an artist with some level of unique character is more than I could ever say for somebody who looks ready for a Disney Channel broadcast, and performs like one too. YK Osiris. I still don't know who or why he is here. He was so far out of his zone that he may as well have started started singing the Phineas and Ferb theme, and I wouldn't have taken him any more serious. I'm surprised Google didn't crash when his freestyle got uploaded. He's a singer, is he not? Why do they keep getting singers in to make a fool of themselves trying to rap? Osiris sang a melody over the beat that didn't even sound like it was supposed to be there, which sucks because he sounded so extra while singing it. There was a car engine type roar and passion to his voice as he began to levitate towards uncomfortable levels of horniness, so lusty to the point where he seemed to forget what the last few lines of his verse was supposed to be. I keep making jokes about his attempt at a passionate R&B vocal, but it's not that unusual. 10 years ago he would have been in Young Money, and yet in 1 minute, even without a beat, Roddy Ricch was able to do what Osiris was trying to, by just shaking his jewelry to keep himself flowing with any sense of rhythm. Roddy snapped his fingers and the complete point of all of this disappeared. I didn't really get a clear idea of what separates this guy from the stagnant pool of singer-rappers, but I certainly got a slightly above decent cypher as he smoothly switched between singing and rapping, a mark of somebody who at least knows what they're doing. Speaking of staying on rhythm, Blueface had a cypher to offer. All comment sections were on standby, ready with bated breath, waiting for old Bluey to blow. For some reason, people like to pretend that his flow is the problem with his music. I think it's great and unique. The problem is that his production is just one note. He just needs to not pick the same beat 11 times and call it a project. You find it humorous that most of the time Blueface has too many words to fit into a bar, but then when the beat slows down, he has too much bar to fit his words. Whatever awkward pauses there were, I'll take whatever Blueface offered because his lines were genuinely very funny, filling in time decently like the inside of a lopsided profiterole. And for the third year in a row, somebody stopped a decent beat in favor of rapping a cappella, which usually ends up sounding awkward and redundant given you've already done that for your own freestyle. But this year, Tierra Whack didn't do a freestyle, which means this a cappella cypher is more like an assignment that was submitted 1 week past the deadline. The thing is that I'm already a fan of Tierra Whack. Her freestyles have proven her time and time again to be one of the most likable weirdo personalities in hip-hop. And the issue from her album last year to this XXL cycle is that we just never get enough of it. She was thoroughly witty, marbling the colours of serious and playful lyrics, and certainly delivering the best spoken word performance of the whole event. Who's left? Thee Stallion? Okay, yeah, she had the best freestyle in cypher this year. It's not even a question, not even a competition, and it doesn't even seem like it is to her either. The sheer unfazed confidence was of somebody who wasn't even trying to waste a single second, walked up into the foreground, sprayed rapid fire heat like it was nothing, swiped away the victory in 30 seconds flat. I realise I'm now typing this part of the script so smittenly, like another of the 15,000 people trying to slide in her DMs, but honestly, even some of my more preferred MCs in this lineup didn't exactly blossom, or only spent less than a minute bothering to try. It's an improvement over last year, performance-wise, but if I have to mention that to keep my hopes up, it probably wasn't much of an improvement in the first place. But aside from picking R&B singers yet again, most lackluster moments this year weren't due to XXL's bad picks, miraculously, but if you're already convinced of each artist's true capability, I'm not sure you need the cyphers or freestyles to prove that to you again. The true implications of being on this cover are little to none, and given we live in a world where Adam22 and DJ Academics are high-profile voices, at the end of the day, the buzz and the hype for our artists are ultimately controlled by you, or us, as a crowd of listeners. The cyphers are fun but insignificant and almost a bit unnecessary, like peas in a stir-fry. Next year they'll be enrolling the guy who discovered the T-Rex dactyl.
The tabernacle, what's the beast to a dinosaur, nigga? Pterodactyl mixed with a T-Rex. T-Rex the dactyl.